Aloha mai kako, and welcome to the City and County of Honolulu Department of Parks and Recreation's Talk Story Festival Spring Edition. My name is Samantha Sun, and I am the Culture and Arts Specialist. Started in 1989, the festival has taken on different forms in different venues. 2021's Talk Story Festival Spring Edition marks the first time that this event will be held in the spring. Before contact, the Hawaiians did not have a written language, and so stories and chants were repeated and passed down to preserve their history. Because of this, what we know as talking story is second nature to people in Hawaii. It is a way to share history, experiences, and lessons in a fun and engaging way. Hawaii's rich diversity makes the Talk Story experience even more special, where we can learn different cultures and histories from around the world.
Back to my childhood.
Our storytellers come from all over Oahu. One teller is joining us from Maui, and one splits his time between San Diego and Oahu. Every person has a story to tell, and we're fortunate to have these storytellers share their stories about family, growing up, some legends of Hawaii and Japan, and a story in Olelo, Hawaii. Get comfy wherever you may be, maybe grab a snack and a drink, and enjoy the Talk Story Festival Spring Edition. In the words of Manako Tanaka, mai ka lolo wila a ke kelepona pa'alima, aloha pumehana yaka ko a pauloa. From the computer to the cell phone, a warm aloha to everyone.
Hi, my name is Tyler Tanabe, and I guess I'd like to tell you a story about my dad. My dad had some pretty crazy stories growing up. So I believe when my dad turned 18, around there, he moved from Hawaii to Northern California. And he went out there. My other uncle was going to a junior college out there, and my dad went out there with, I think, his brother and a lot of people from Hawaii, I guess, lived in that area. So he moved out there, search of, new things. You've been on a rock all your life. So he got out there, and when he got out there, I guess it was, it's one big party, as soon as you get there. And then they started to run out of money, like so many of us do. So they had to get a job. My dad ended up bussing tables, I think, at an Italian restaurant, he told me. And they really liked him over there because, we all work hard. And I guess none of their other busboys really cleaned up good. My dad would wipe the tables really good. He'd clean everything. Everything was spotless. So, but after a while, that gets kind of monotonous when you're younger, and you want to move on to bigger and better things. So my dad had this really cheap, I don't know what kind of car it was, but he had a really cheap car that he was trying to get rid of. He actually got offered, somebody was telling him that he could sell magazines door to door. It was a chance for you to travel the country and, go door to door and sell magazines, exactly what it sounds like. In the 80s, which is when this happened, was, early 80s, you could do stuff like that. Nowadays, good luck knocking on anybody's door. But he thought that was very interesting, so he packed up all of his stuff, and the last thing before he left, he needed to get rid of his car. And he had this really hoopty old car, and only he could start it. And it was a real piece of junk kind of car. So he decided, him and my uncle were going to go down to San Francisco or Oakland, that area, and which was about an hour away. So they both drove down there, and they were out by the docks. And they were parked over there, and I don't know what kind of guy it was, but there was some guy out there working the docks, and the guy was kind of checking out the car. He's like, "Hey, it's a nice car you got there." And then my dad was like, "You want to buy it?" I'm like, "Why? What's wrong with it?" Of course, you're going to be skeptical if somebody's selling a car. But somebody asked about the car, like, right off the bat. And so my dad told him, like, something small, like $100, $150, something like that. And, back in the 80s, $150, that's a lot more money than $150 is now. So the guy's like, I don't know, man. He's like, try turn it off, and he wanted to see it start, basically. Because he left the car running. My dad was like, he was checking it out as the car ran. He's like, turn it off and start it. So, but my dad knew how to start the car. So he turned it off, and he did whatever little trick it was to start the car, and he started the car. And then he ended up selling it to the guy and just leaving it there. And my dad then, I guess, caught a taxi from wherever that was. They parked the car, and they spent the money on some drinks and then used the rest of the money to go back up. I'm not sure what happened with that guy in the car, but unless he found out how to start it, he's probably not very happy about it. So anyway, my dad, I think he arranged for somebody to pick him up. It's just really weird. It's not something a lot of younger people could probably imagine today. It's just somebody just picking you up and taking you to go do something that you have no idea what you're gonna do. You know what you're gonna do, but you don't know how this is gonna go. And this is before cell phones. Communication is really hard. You can still call people, but there's only landlines and stuff like that. So he was kind of going off on a journey. And so he told me he went off to do that. And basically how these things work is you have little crews, and you travel with a whole bunch of people in a crew, and you travel around the country, you stay at motels, and from there you branch off into that area, and you go knock on everybody's door, and you sell magazines door to door. And it sounds really simple, but not easy to do at all. I don't know how many times somebody's knocked on your door or you would actually buy something from a stranger like that. You have to be a really, really smooth talker. So he would tell me some really crazy stories. Like, he'd be all over the country. He'd be places like the deep South. And he told me those were the scariest because, being Asian American and going down there, he said he would knock on doors and he could hear shotguns being cocked on the other end of the door and telling them to get off their property. That kind of thing. So you have to be very, very either persistent or crazy, or I'm not sure what the word is. But he did tell me in that same kind of area where he was not quite welcomed, he got this lady. He started talking to this lady, and she seemed kind of interested, and she was like, I don't know. And then finally she turned him down. Someone down was like, oh, all right. So as he was walking off of their patio or porch or whatever, he noticed there was like this huge, he was like, I've never seen a rat this big, but it was huge. I don't know if it was a muskrat or what type of rat it was, but it was a huge, huge rat. So he knocked back on the door, and he told the lady, he's like, you got like a really huge rat, like that's just hanging out like right, on the side of your house like that. So the lady like freaked out and went back in and called the husband. And the husband came out with a gun, and the husband saw the rat, and the husband took care of the rat, in so many words. And the guy looked at my dad, and he told my dad, he was like, what are you selling again? My dad told him, I'm selling magazines. He's like, do you sell guns and ammo there? And my dad was like, sure do. So my dad ended up getting a sale off of some gun-toting person in the South. And yeah, there's other stories, but that's for another time. Thank you.